Chapter 3. 48 Hours Later. For an independent producer, having a good business day is pretty awesome. 2 back-to-back is even better. String a few together, and you really start to feel that mojo rising. The sun seems brighter, food tastes better, you start to walk a bit taller, maybe even with a bit of a swagger or sachet. Full disclosure, I have a limp, so it's always hard to say with me which one I'm doing. My girlfriend once said I appear to be in a, quote, perpetual state of falling down, end quote. Thanks, hon. It's flat out true, though. Success makes you feel happy, makes you feel fine, makes you feel successful. If you're sensing that impending other shoe, I'd had a really good run of things as of late. Every day for the past week, the final week of the month, I'd made money. Bills were caught up, with money left over. That hadn't happened in a while. In the midst of a global pandemic, my girlfriend and all those close to me were all safe and healthy. I counted myself lucky every morning when I got up before dawn to have ultra-quiet studio time and could take a healthy, unlabored breath. I'd wrapped on the schlocky audiobook, and the author was thrilled. I really had made it sound better than was written, and I'm not being all that salty about it. The author said so as well without prompting. That made me feel good, especially after my previous audiobook that I overcommitted to and fell so behind on that I had to refund the publisher half the money to offset the sting of my screw-up delaying the book launch, thereby dropping my per-hour rate down to around federal minimum wage. I had a discovery video call a few mornings before with a large PR and social media company in the Middle East. It was a rough call. They were not giving me a lot of specifics on what they wanted, what they expected, their material, etc. Not really helpful on a discovery call. It almost made me feel like they were being cagey with me. But they were a big agency, and the work would sustain me for a solid stretch. It ended rather awkwardly, with everybody doing that now all too common ultra-weird stare blankly at the camera at sign-off thing. Honestly, I can't think of a more uncomfortable way to end a call. For some bonus weirdness, a tiny fruit fly had been annoying the daylights out of me the entire call, distracting the hell out of me and likely making me look really preoccupied on camera. Remember a few sentences ago when I blithely said, I can't think of a more uncomfortable way to end a call? Of course, right at the end of what were some rather tense negotiations, during an intentionally deep nerve-centering breath, the little bugger flew straight up my nose like Luke Skywalker's torpedo into the Death Star's ray-shielded particle exhaust vent. I did my best not to choke, clicked at the hang-up icon, and went after the little perpetrator. It was only a moment later when I heard a Henry Kissinger-esque voice in my headset saying,
"Is he picking his nose on camera?"
Yeah, there's a hold my beer moment for you. The semi-frantic damage control email and text exchange started immediately thereafter, and I managed to explain it away. Sort of, but not really. Regardless, I wound up making one last softball of a pitch for the contract, which I did want. I reduced my number, not as much as they were asking, but some, and told them the time frame on the offer. I was told to expect a video call by 8 a.m. my time, early afternoon their time today, which I'd already gotten a confirmation email calendar request for at roughly 5 a.m. It was now 7:45 or so. My partner had just gotten up to start her work-from-home day by microwaving some leftover tea. I had nothing on my studio plate that day for the first time in many weeks. Just admin stuff, which, money aside, was kinda nice. I sat at my production computer listening to a stream of some of my favorite alt-country artists like James McMurtry, Steve Earle, and Sunvolt, among others, with one of my all-time top artists currently in my ears playing one of my favorite songs of theirs.
Nothing beats the feeling of being on top until you take that one mighty fall.
Suddenly, I jumped like a frog landing on Texas summer asphalt when the entire studio room erupted in noise and vibration. My air compressor in my shop on the other side of my studio wall kicked on, shaking the entire room as it does. I must have left it plugged in the night before. The electric layout in our little ranch house is rather unique, and the only place to hook up the compressor is literally 4 feet away from where I sit in my studio, on the other side of a not-to-code sheetrocked wall. I expected my partner to come through the door with her hot tea in her hand and… Hot tea, shh! She's using the microwave. Remember me mentioning the rather unique nature of our electric layout? Well, one of the facets of that uniqueness is that if the microwave in the kitchen is in use while anything with more than an 8-amp draw is on pretty much anywhere else on the circuit, it drops the power to about a third of our entire house, including the kitchen, my workshop, and, most importantly, the studio sandwiched in between them. Barely audible over the din of my compressor, the song kept playing in my ears through my Bluetooth headphones as I jumped up.
And you hit the ground so hard, you wonder why you even tried at all.
I had seconds to get out there and unplug the compressor before I was now standing in the absolute darkness of my windowless studio. The music went quiet as the computer I was listening to it on, my 2012 iMac, had gone dark, along with everything else in my studio. The only sound I heard was that annoying digital lady voice in my Bluetooth headphones saying, over and over again. Suddenly there was a in my ears as the headphones connected to my phone's Bluetooth automatically. I barely noticed it since I'm busy freaking out about potentially missing my 8 a.m. that I need to be on in order to steer this wayward negotiation in for a landing. The money is pretty damn important to us. I gotta make this happen. I opened the door out of the back of the studio and used the forward-facing LED light on my phone to illuminate the dark shop as I head to the panel to reset the breaker and get my stuff back online, hopefully in time for my call, which I suddenly discover I'm actively on when I hear the connection noise in my headset. At times, I've had to use my phone for video conferencing, normally when I'm doing patch-in directed VOs for clients. And if my primary system doesn't answer the incoming video call first, my phone grabs it next so I don't miss a call. I'd left the auto answer feature on apparently, and now everyone in some very posh conference room in some crazy expensive office in the desert of somewhereistan who were already questioning my credentials due to my
"Why, yes, my finger was up my nose, but it was a bug, I swear."
moment of indiscretion now has a full view of my janky breaker box in my garage. I pivot the camera, look at the screen, and there's the team, all wearing the exact same expression. What is it with this clown? With the LED light now turned around and blinding me in the face in the dark, my broadcast feed to them must have looked like a bad imitation of the Blair Witch Project combined with an episode of This Old House. I disconnect from the conference without saying anything, but while mouthing words like I was trying to talk. Get the breaker reset, unplug the compressor, get back inside, shoot the microwave the stink eye, and call them back, taking my call at the kitchen table. After all the chaos and embarrassment, they accepted my pitch and my last proposal with one caveat. They need a pitch deck scratch recording by EOB, or end of business today, 20-minute runtime. Not that big a deal. The big deal is, they need it by their end of business. They close shop at 7 p.m. There's a 10-hour time difference between us. That means I have just under 45 minutes to get it done and back to them. Send me the copy, and I'll have it back to you in 30 minutes tops, I say confidently. The call ends, and I get back into my studio and start to reboot everything and get this punched out like the rock star that I believe I am. Of course, when I say start to reboot everything, I of course mean stare in shock and disbelief at the black screen of doom that my Mac is showing me as I try repeatedly to restart my only production computer. Yes, only. More on that later. Any long-term Mac owner will attest to just how much these systems adore hard crashes. I am now in full-blown panic mode. My guts roil as the thought of having to call them and beg time horrifies me. As I fiddle with plugs and power buttons, spitting both profanities and pleas to the heavens, my phone notification goes off. It's them. Their script just came in. Maybe it's an easy read. Maybe I can just do it on my iPad if it's just a scratch track they need for video timing. Let me look. I suddenly know why everything about this situation with their negotiations felt so weird. Why, if I was so awkward and buffoonish and my numbers were so high and all that, they were still so interested in having me do their work. Why everything felt so cagey. It's because they were actively being cagey. Their copy is horrific, not by way of quality, but content. It goes against everything I stand for as far as personal liberties, respect, international cooperation, and human decency goes. It's 180 degrees from who I am and what I stand for. I can't abide it, and I sure as hell won't put my voice to it. Virtually no one in the Western Hemisphere, no matter their political stripe, would attach themselves to this. It becomes quickly apparent to me that unlike most other talents who were initially approached for this job, I had failed to perform due diligence and research this company and their background. They kept me on the hook after every other pro talent they approached rightly told them to go pound sand. I simply hadn't done my job properly, and they kept pulling me along with the hopes of me signing blindly on the dotted PDF and thereby winding up contractually stuck doing the gig and giving their awful message some credential with a polished professional voice in English. However, amidst the chaos of my embarrassingly awkward mishandling of the meetings and negotiations, I'd actually given myself an out. They'd failed to get me to actually sign anything. They had a verbal. That was it. I sat and thought for a minute. I was going to have to say goodbye to roughly 3 months' worth of steady work, steady income, stability, needed equipment upgrades, a new computer. Sirs, after further consideration, and in light of last-minute technical issues at my studio, of which you are now aware of firsthand, I feel that I am no longer technically capable of fulfilling your proposed contract and will not be accepting your offer. I apologize for any disruption to your production planning cycle this may cause your company, but it would be negligent of me to accept this contract at a time where I may, through no fault of my own, be unable to provide you with the services you seek. As I hit send on my phone, my iMac comes back online. The second-hand uninterruptible power supply I'd gotten off Craigslist a few weeks before kept it from a hard crash, but needed a bit of a nudge from the restored wall outlet to reset its capacitor and allow the Mac to come fully out of its catatonic hibernation. My ears blip-blooped again, and the song picked back up from where the crash had paused the stream. The music swam between my ears, and I couldn't escape the irony.
But there ain't no sense in crying about the fall. Stop rolling dice on a short-term windfall. Do what's right, sleep well at night, and a fall will feel just like flying after all.
An email came in about 15 minutes later, with the offer doubled. I marked it as spam, got on Craigslist again, and looked for an electrician who might be needing some voice work for their social media campaign.